Good morning, everyone, and welcome to episode 39 of Builders Talk. I've been working with some of my clients in my MIA, which is the Momentum Intensive Accelerator program, and we've been working through their three biggest opportunities that they identified in the Custom Construct Code workshop to uncovering more profits and time in their building business. And the program runs over a 6-week period where we work on uncovering important historical data so that they can gauge momentum in their business, discover the filters that they need to focus on to push their business forward, utilize the WHAT process to define a pathway to uncovering more profits and time, implementing the daily surge routine that keeps you accountable to your business goals, and using the Symphony system to harmoniously arrange the critical parts of your building business, ensuring that you can become MIA from your business sooner rather than later. And as an owner of a custom building business, the last thing I want to do is waste the small amount of time I do have on things that will not move my business forward faster. So the best way to make sure that what you're doing is actually something that is, I guess, pushing you forward is we need to find the historical data and historical markers. And as Henry Dreyfus said, to look ahead, one must learn to look back. We want to be able to unpack what has happened over the year of 2021 so we can create a solid foundation to build our framework for 2022. With it only being 18 days away from the Christmas shutdown for the building industry, now is the time to start thinking about what you want to focus on in 2022. And there are several methods that can be used to identify important markers, such as looking back through your calendar or your diary, or looking at your accounting system and extracting key data points. These points can be used to build a tracking system that over time will highlight trends within your business and provide insight into what may or may not be working for you in your business. Just before last week's call with my clients, my husband and I had been talking about how crazy things are and how he's finding it hard to stay motivated. He was struggling with constantly hearing all the price increases and dealing with all the delays and the supplies. He's constantly having to reschedule the jobs, and some days I just can't even get a hold of him on the phone, as he always seems to be just on the phone spending hours trying to get a hold of materials and trades and rescheduling things. He said it's got to the point where he doesn't even care about the costs, as he just needs to get materials and labour. His main concern was, are we actually making any money? I bet there are many builders out there at the moment asking the same question. The difficult we are facing at the moment is trying to gauge what is happening in our business. And the fact that, well, one thing, this has never happened in our lifetime of working in the industry. 2, there's no historical data to look back at to help us predict what may happen or is going to happen. And 3, progress on site is happening so slowly that looking at our profit and loss reports is giving us more anxiety, due mostly to the fact that jobs are being delayed, which in turn delays our progress milestone payments. So we're still incurring expenses as we try and progress the homes forward. So there is a bigger lag than usual between money going out and then money coming back in. To combat that lag, it is really important at this time to have a better idea of how work in progress reporting works. So work in progress accounting is a method used to represent a fair and true profit position in a reporting period. So whether you do that monthly, at the moment it's probably good to do it weekly. And we use it to work out a percentage of completion for each project. And it helps to serve as an early indicator or warning about whether a project appears to be heading over its original budget. Typically, we may, if at all, look at work in progress figures as a total for our business, but we should be looking at it for each individual project as well, especially at the moment. This will help you get a more accurate measure of exactly where you stand for each project. If you want to make your reports for each project more accurate, as well as make sure you have a system that adds in, you want to have a system that adds in variations, back into the original budget figures. We often look at the original budget that most likely doesn't have figures for any sort of upgrades or additional scope of work that's been added into the project since you originally budgeted it. Say the client upgrades eliminated bench tops to stone bench top. So you allocate the invoice from your stonemason against the benchtop code, but looking at the budget versus actual figures, you see you have gone over the budget, but you've not updated the original budget figure to reflect the new stone benchtop figure. And so therefore it gives you false data and some extra stress because you think, oh my God, I've gone over in the kitchen section or the kitchen benchtop, and can put undue stress on you because you think you're not necessarily tracking to your budget. I can't stress how important it is at the very moment this very moment in time is to make sure you don't only look at work in progress figures, but also make sure you're keeping on top of your accounting and adding in any additional changes in scope of work to your accounting system. Make sure you're entering your accounts payable into your system every day, invoicing your clients the second you can. We are all super busy. This one thing that this is, one of the things that we don't keep top of mind, and it'll take you down and you won't see it coming if you're not keeping on top of your figures and keeping your accounts up to date. The main issue my husband was having was he wasn't looking at the numbers. He relies on me to do that side of things, but playing in the back of his mind was this excessive price increases, 40% steel framing, 65% insulation, timber's gone up around at 50%. This record was playing around and around in a loop in his head and got him questioning, he's working hard and making no money and potentially going backwards faster than forwards. Another way to check in on what is happening in your business, and this one doesn't necessarily involve in-depth accounting knowledge, like having to work out work in progress figures, is to do a comparison between your budgeted figures for each project to your actuals. And depending on how sophisticated you've set up your accounting codes, you can easily look for ups and downs for each accounting code. For example, I have a different costing code for windows, for steel supply, for plumbing labor, for plumbing fixtures, for cabinetry materials versus labor. I guess you get the idea. But the more you can break those, areas down, the better idea you've got of how your business is tracking and whether you're going over your budgets that you initially had put in place. So this gives you that idea of what is going wrong. So once I printed out the actual budgets versus the actual figures, and my husband looked over the reports, it gave him a better idea of how the jobs were tracking and whether he was making any money or not. Obviously, the reports may not looked as healthy as we wanted them to be, but we were tracking along okay. So this was a relief for him, and he could stop playing that record in his head, and he also understood what supplies or trades were causing the biggest downfalls and can focus on ordering earlier or getting more quotes to secure better pricing for those sort of areas that had gone over budget. So we got an email a few weeks back about they're running out of insulation. So we spoke to the supplier, and there was no time indication as to when it would be back in stock. They said probably next year. So put an order in for 20 bags of roofing blanket ready for the new year for the 2 roofs that we knew we'd be putting on. The supplier rang back 3 weeks later and said, we have the bags. And my husband said, but I don't need them till next year. I thought you weren't going to have them in till next year, but now he had them, we needed to take them. And now we can probably thank our lucky stars, even though we've had to outlay the money now, which affects the cash flow timing in our business, but insulation is going up 65% in February. So that saved us from paying the higher prices in February when we really needed that product. So keep your accounting system up to date, use work in progress figures, and also keep a watch on your budget versus actual figures. It will reduce your anxiety. It will give you the data to make better decisions. It can help you save money by deciding if it is worthwhile or whether you can afford to outlay them for materials that are going up in price. A lot of prices are going up in January 2022. So we have to start working smarter in the current environment. Stop walking around with blinders on, take them off, and look at your business over the Christmas shutdown period. What needs to change to ensure your business survives the current turmoil within the building industry? Last week in my MIO program, we talked about filters. I have 7 questions that I ask myself about my business to make sure every decision will push me forward. So start developing some filtering questions in your business. Start asking the right questions to get a better answer, and use these to give yourself focus on what is important in your business to make it work for you. Do you have a system to define your pathway to uncovering more profits and time? I will be running the Custom Construct Code workshop regularly. And if you want to identify your pathway to more profits and time, go to my website, designherbuilder.com, and sign up to one of the available dates and start your new year by focusing your direction and stop that loop that's playing in your head that's, causing anxiety and stress. You need something to stop that loop from playing in your head so that you can move forward and you can keep your business in a profitable position. But until next week, keep powering your business.